All right, now I think everything's working. Welcome. Here we are, back in Sunless Sea, up here at Zealport at the Salt Lions. Not a lot of fuel left. I think we're just heading straight back to Fallen London to start with, so that we can get our infusion of cash from our Sphinx Stone load and stock up on supplies to look for other places we'll be needed in. So here we are. Just double check our commission here. I want to say that we had something we were doing for the Admiralty this time as well. Well, we've got a commission from Khan's Glory. At any rate. I wonder if maybe we didn't have one from the Admiralty. Guess we'll find out. Well, no reason to put it off. Let's get started. Good to be back in the Untersee, in the Neath. We are kind of hurt. Forgot about that. We fought the pirate poet a couple times. Hopefully we'll meet Senpai again in this, or failing that, subsequent play session. I'm hoping to keep Tohil here alive for a little while. There's a certain amount of luck involved in that, but we can hope. I am real worried about my fuel, but I don't really think there's a whole lot of places I could go that are closer. So let's see. We did indeed kick the pirate poet's cute butt twice last time I played. She seems nice? Question mark? All right, well, this is going a little bit better than it looked like it was with regards to fuel. We're near the tomb colonies. You can hear the music. What wants to fight me? Home waters, fuel reserves are empty. But maybe we'll make it back to Wolfstack. And bypassing Hunter's Keep because there's not a lot I can really gain from going there. Oh, it's a bat swarm. Good, cool. That's what I need. They steal my supplies. So 20 echoes they just stole. This is something that they added. An offer of assistance. Ahoy, Captain. Out of fuel, are we? That was unwise. We can help for a reasonable price under the circumstances. Hee hee. You can pay 100 echoes for a towing fee. Or put you in a dinghy, basically. That's something that they added after launch because more than a few people posted about running out of fuel and supplies like right here within sight of London, and that feeling really bad. So probably a pretty good thing to have. Yeah, we just made it. Huzzah. The revenue men. Move my gazetteer just a little bit. There we go. Oh, I am not at all sure what these emoji from anything so's mean in this context. I did not see when they came in. The revenue men. Her Enduring Majesty's Customs Service works closely with both the Ministry of Public Decency and the Masters of the Bazaar. Today they have selected you for an inspection. Don't cheek them. So let's see. We can let them do their worst because we don't have anything to hide. We can declare our controlled goods, but we don't have anything that would necessitate it. We could try to talk our way out of the search. Because today's duty officer is a patriot, or we can try to use veils to set something aside. Fortunately, we can just let them do their worst. We don't have anything to worry about. It is entirely okay, anything so's. My finding them slightly inscrutable is exclusively because I am bad at emoji, and that monitor is a little further away. By all means, do your worst. Vexed and frustrated, they roam your deck like wolves. They tear through your belongings like termites. At last, they leave. But our suspicion wasn't all that high, so nothing much has changed. Water. Returning to London, the lights of London welcome you home. Collect messages from the harbour master. All the clatter and song of the dockside, it soothes the soul. Are there messages for you? Since we have less than 50 terror, we'll get, a slightly less consequential version of this. Something has changed. Someone wants to sign on. We have a free evening, and Rose Market hasn't changed. So, let's see. Got a lot we could do here. Let's go one thing at a time. Can pass on strategic information to the Admiralty, which is probably the way to use it. We don't have a commission. I wonder if I just didn't remember to grab one last time. Fascinating. Or maybe I already turned one in. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Well, let's see what they need from us. The Principles of Coral, Port Cecil, as I'm told the UK pronounces the name. Let's see. Submit our port reports. Gators mourn. You have something to tell us about the pirate fleets of the forest. 30 echoes. I guess actually, thinking about it, I should repair my ship's hull first, using up some Admiralty's favor to do it on the cheap, and then gaining Admiralty's favor following that reduction when I turn in my port reports. Yeah, I think it's principles like LES. I think it's, having principles, if I remember correctly. Guess we'll find out when I get there. Principles of Coral rather than the principles of Coral High School. Yeah, let's get our hull repaired and then go back to the Admiralty if and we can. Survey office. Here we go. Godfall. Pirate monks. I honestly have no idea what we're supposed to do about pirate monks. What are they up to? 30 echoes. Yeehaw. And we got some more favor. Yay. I don't like our chances of Shepherd's Isles submit them as facts. So let's do it as unsubstantiated hearsay for the minimal bit of good it will do, and not make the Admiralty mad. We do hear some unlikely tales of that place. I agree, it does seem implausible. So many of the stories from that place do. Still, there's a little gold of truth in the mud of rumor from time to time. Your payment, Captain. Woo. Abbey Rock. We categorize it as a military installation, although that has occasioned some quite vigorous debate. Principles of Coral, Sunless Sea High School AU. I guess that would make the Traitor Empress the principal. That's terrifying to think about. Polythreme, the king with 100 hearts. What a useful fellow. Without his exports, I'd be delivering my own coal. Good lord. 50 echoes for that one. Heck yeah. Khan's Shadow. Oh, these are always fun. Come on, let's hear it. Other officials gather round to hear your tales of bloodshed and debauchery, and the jokes about the Khan that the Shadow produces so efficiently and so entertainingly. The one about the Khan and the donkey produces a roar of patriotic laughter and encourages the deputy recorder to unlock the departmental drinks cabinet. That does sound like a 19th century military. Oh, we lost some terror. That's handy. I remember that. Salt Lions. Bazan has always taken an interest in that place. Not too much to report there. Let's see. I have 2 strategic information, so let's give one up at least to see how much it gains. What's that? Indeed, indeed. I'll send you up directly to speak to the Admiral himself. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have anything else to do here. The Admiral sits up, although he steeples his fingers and pretends calm. He's hard to read with those glasses, but he reads the summary intently. Satisfactory, he says at last. Eminently satisfactory, actually. Good luck. Good work, rather. Take this for your trouble. The clerk will see you paid. 150 echoes isn't bad. I'm going to hold on to my other strategic information for now, just in case it comes in handy elsewhere. Let's deliver our Sphinx Stone. Special constables, black uniforms, distinctive caps, the badge of the Ministry of Public Decency wait with a cart. Sign, sign, sign. Here's a receipt. Here's a discretion contract. Here's a penalty contract. Your vision is blurred by the end of it all. The cart rumbles off into the coiling fog. Here's your reward. 500 echoes. No longer have Sphinx Stones. Lost to terror. Good deal. Let's check our hold. We've got our strange catch, which I think we can probably give to the alarming scholar. We can. Pickled into quiescence is a fun thing to say. Let's see what a strange catch nets us. It's usually not too much from the alarming scholar. The scholar circles your specimen jar, tapping at the glass with a variety of tools: screwdriver, magnet, scrutinizer, tuning fork, flensing knife, a sort of slotted spoon. This will keep them going for weeks, he says, half to himself. He'll dine at the high table tonight, I think. So yeah, we got our favors, antiquarian, and 10 echoes. Probably, not the most profitable use there, but not terrible either. We don't have any romantic literature for the Venturer yet. Don't think we have anything for the Labyrinth of Tigers. We're going to keep ignoring the Blind Bruiser for now. We may avail ourselves of his services a little later. Nothing seems particularly useful at the Roser's Wharf. Terror isn't so critical. We need to carouse. We're kind of okay on crew, but we do have a new recruit here who could be just a recruit or could be an officer. So let's see what we got. Engage the brisk campaigner. A doctor. You do have the clattery air already. Echoes. I mean, officers are quite good to get, and I do have the money to spare currently, so yeah, it's hard to pass up. Hoy, you need a real physician, none of your surgeons. Welcome aboard. Don't you have anywhere cleaner? Well, if I must do it myself, where can I find a mop? All right, we've got the brisk campaigner. She's marched with armies and cured generals. Don't annoy her. Noted. Let's see then. The brisk campaigner gives us hearts and iron. 6 and 6 versus 6 and 3. So I guess the clattery air is actually just a straight, strict upgrade in terms of stats from the brisk campaigner. But it won't hurt to have an extra officer along for when we might want or need her. What else can we do in London here before we are done? My lodgings, perhaps. And then some shopping. Yes, yes. That's a good point, anything. So we should take a little minute to talk to some of our crew. I've been putting that off to keep the gameplay pace up and to avoid reading myself raw, but it's right here at the beginning of the stream. I haven't talked so much, and they've been waiting. So I think I will do that in just a moment. I can afford to buy my own place now, but it is pretty expensive, and I think a ship is probably more priority purchase. So I'm going to keep saving up as much as I can. We'll see how much that turns out to be in aggregate. But let's go ahead and read the morning papers. News from abroad. The Khanate is threatening war. They always are. London's colonies on the Carnelian coast want independence. They always do. The Untersee, the papers report, has undergone another alteration. Not yet it hasn't, you'd know. Oh, a promotional coupon from Mrs. Plenty's Provisioners for a half cask of salt herring. You could use that. So we got some supplies and lost terror. Got some recent news. Let's look at the shops, and then we'll talk to some officers. Mrs. Plenty's shipside provisioners will need to buy probably at least a little more fuel and supplies before we leave. Wolfstack Exchange. So the base price of mushroom wine is 21 echoes. So, I'm hanging on to it because it's useful for a couple of storylets, but that's a good thing to keep in mind. Yes, hello, welcome, Dan. It is early. I just sort of started itching and decided, but you really only missed us coming back to London, turning in our port reports, getting another Admiralty commission, just little things. We haven't really done too much just yet. We're about to talk to some of our crew. And I'm just trying to remember what all the prices are. A smart person would probably have like a little notepad or something for some of this. My dog is fussing at me for my sloppiness. It's fine. I deserve it. We have enough money that it's starting to get tempting to buy some bigger, cooler stuff, but also I think saving up for a bigger, cooler ship is going to do us more good in the long term. Though being able to buy the Caminus Yard's Hell Thrasher is always tempting. That's actually a really good point, Den. Principles of coral could also be the coral that you borrowed and have not repaid, which determines the amount of interest of coral you also have to pay. Is alternate meaning for principles spelled that way that I had not thought of just yet. Let's see. We could just about double our engine power for 1,000 echoes, but again, I think I'm going to just check in at the shipyard real quick, see what we would need. We're remarkably close to being able to get the Lamped class cutter, which has less hull, less capacity, fewer quarters, weighs a lot less, and gives a couple of stat bonuses, plus has forward gun slot. I mean, it would be kind of an upgrade, but given how fragile I've already proved to be, I think I am going to hold out for the Forked class Corvette because it's only another 1,000 echoes, which is like a lot, but not, insurmountably. I may even try to sort of overdo it a little bit. No aft anything there just yet. But the ones that have aft slots are pretty spendy. So I think I'm going to aim for the Corvette first. And if I can put in a little bit of extra money to be able to get a new engine that will help it go faster. I think that's going to be my policy here. All right, yeah, I am kind of sitting on some things too. Fascinating. I didn't realize you could use strategic information. Wonder what that does if I hit use. Assemble vital intelligence. Okay. So if you combine it with a mirrors stat that I don't quite meet the threshold for, and you have 2 of them and some other ingredients, you can make it into vital intelligence. That's really good to know. Okay. So before we get into buying supplies and things, let's start talking to some officers. I had mentioned I put this off a little bit because of trying to keep the pace up and trying to spare my voice a little bit. But I think it's high time that we talk to some of our officers here. Don't mind the dog. She's yelling at her dinner. I mean, I think I have to start with the sigil-ridden navigator. Has that tattoo grown since last you looked? Let's speak to him. Yes, now is good, thank you. So we could invite him to dine with us. He has an admirable appetite for so slight a fellow. Or use him to increase our mirrors. We have 10 secrets. So we could probably stand to spend at least a couple of them upping our stats. But I think Veils is going to take priority here over mirrors. Although, if we increased our mirrors just a little bit, we could probably make a little use of the next bit of strategic information we get. Don't know. So we need 1 supplies and to talk to him. So here we go. Forgetfulness. Seconds, then thirds. Disappear in small, hasty morsels. He is nervous and not a gifted conversationalist. You do your best to plug the silence. When you ask about his past, he winces. I can't say, Captain. This... He taps the livid sigil on his temple, which twitches like a scorpion's sting. Has burned away my memories. I recall I have a brother, but not his name or where he is. I remember the names of the ships I've served on, the Implicit, the Bonnie Swan, but not their crew. How did he come by the sigil? He clutches his head. I don't know. Thinking about it is like fire in my skull. He grits his teeth. Someone must have hated me very much to curse me with it, but I can't even remember my enemy. Speak to him again to advance the story. Your navigator's sigil has devoured his memories. He cannot recall his past. Sinister. Cooked book. Haktua and spit on that thing. I think it's about the mirror, perhaps. Let's see. Well, there's no reason not to talk to him again right away. Captain, my sleep is riddled with dreams, Captain. Dreams of bells and candles. Let's see. A destination. He paces the deck. I see a lonely house lit by tallow and wick. A bell is ringing. It rings now. Do you hear it? He scratches at his sigil, which has begun to bleed. Do you know this place, Captain? Can I plot a course? A place of bells and candles, the Chapel of Lights, a northern church where no sin is too terrible. We haven't found it yet, but been kind of hoping to. We'll see. Let's see. We could just go down the list, I suppose. But let's talk to the Clatterier first, as we've had her a little while. She works with 2 scalpels at a time, or with a scalpel and a tined instrument, pinning open the flesh she's working on. Her operations are brisk and yield very little blood. So I can't tell her about meeting her father at the funging station. Bonk. Dog has come up and bonked her head into me. But we can invite her to dine. or proposition her, I guess. Which we may. Just, we'll see. Invite her to dine with you. Does she wield a fork the way she wields a surgical instrument? Precise bite sizes. The cooked flesh arrives still in its shell. From the claws, 8 legs, body, and head, she renders a dozen neat bite-sized piles of shredded flesh, sutured with mushroom or pinned together with a needle of chitin. Perhaps she has missed a calling as a chef? She denies it. My mother was the child of a surgeon in the first city. You might say that knife work runs in the family. There's a wicked, quirking smile at the corner of her mouth. Then there are the rumors about my father. She would deny there's any truth in those. So we are learning about the Clattery heir, alerted to rumors about the Clattery heir's parentage. You've grown closer. Is that safe? Also, my customary disclaimer here about not being able to remember what voice I have given any given what voice I've given any given character. She becomes more talkative when she has something to cut. Perhaps you can get her to say more about your father. So if we find another strange catch, we can do that. And if we get presumably somewhat closer, we might be able to tell her about meeting her father. Why, thank you. Anything so's. I try to make my voices, correct is perhaps a weird word for it, but appropriate. All right. Let's see. Let's talk to the Presbyterate adventuress. Perhaps she's afraid of being forgotten. She isn't afraid of much else. Also, Captain, did you need something? Let's see. We can't invite her to dinner without coffee. Can we buy coffee here? We can. We can spend 50 echoes on it. Which, I suppose, small price to pay for getting to know one of our officers, right? Captain's cabin, is it? All right. But I want a coffee sorbet for dessert. What? I like coffee sorbet. No sorbet, no dinner. Excuse me. Someone's caught fire again. How droll. A pleasant evening. Yes, I was in the Navy. Did you think I'd stolen the uniform? I retired before they threw me out. She grins and spoons more sorbet onto her plate. I'm older than I look. We're all older than we look to you people. An occurrence. Learning about the Presbyterate adventuress. Know a little of what drives her. And we gained a Z story. Let's see who else requires a talking to. Can we talk to our Blimmigan Gallivanter? We could entertain our Blimmigan Gallivanter. But without something awaits you in port, it perhaps is not a hugely good use of our time. Same with our comatose ferret. I don't imagine that our sly navigator is going to have too much to say. What does he seek at Z? Disease enough, but now you mention it, I've always had a desire to see Frostfound, a place where the Z rises to become a castle, and a place where questions and riddles do bow for truth. He smiles dreamily, but he's watching you carefully. Yes, Frostfound. Well, if we find Frostfound, we'll see what he would like. I hope he doesn't want to put ashore there, because that would be a bad idea, but, Our irrepressible cannoneer. Hello, what can I do for you? I have lists. Invite the cannoneer to dine with you. Hello, Drask. And, yes, Frostfound, is usually somewhere between like Mount Palmerston and Irem on that sort of northern row, if I remember correctly. So let's see. We've got invite the cannoneer to dine with you, which requires 10 fuel, 5 torpedo components, and 5 supplies. Good night. I may put that off a little bit. This is, I had enough to eat, thank you. I don't eat much, but I'd like to demonstrate some ideas I've had. Can you meet me on the afterdeck at 8 bells? I think we'll come back to that when we're a little wealthier and more confident. And let's round off by speaking to the brisk campaigner. Sit down there. I'll be with you in a moment, Captain. Invite her to dine with you. We would need muttersalt. For a light meal of sea lily soup and whale cheese with a glass surface cordial. Brisk campaigners' tastes are expensive. Muttersalt ensures that the conversation waits until after dinner. Don't think we can buy that here. Yeah. So we'll just have to keep our eye out for some muttersalt if we want to be able to talk to our brisk campaigner. And I think that puts us on track to sort of supply ourselves and head on out. I suppose, Draskarice, that our irrepressible cannoneer would not characterize it as a dinner date, but rather something they would be more excited about, would be my guess, anyway. So, our Admiralty Commission is for the Principles of Coral, which we don't have on our map yet, meaning we're going to be doing some exploring. So I'm going to try to lay in a fair few supplies and save up for somewhere in the vicinity of 4,000 echoes to trade up to a Corvette and a new engine. That is true. Our Presbyterate adventuress wanted coffee sorbet, so that was the ice cream date for the stream, I think. All right. We can take relatively plenty of supplies this time. What with us being a lot more comfortable in the Echoes department than we have been in the past. There we go. 15 and 10 is a good place to start. And let's be off. Principles of Coral could be in any number of places, but I think we're going to have to go a fair way out. So I'm going to try to sort of swoop south, fill in some of these gaps down here, maybe get a couple new port reports, and then up on the other side of Khan's Shadow, see if we can't find it. We maybe won't be able to find it, but we'll see. And I'll talk to my Blim again when we have something awaits you in port. One moment. I'm going to have to go to be right back. Okay. And I'm back. Apologies for the interruption. A critter decided to help itself to our indoors, and I had to go see if I could banish it. But now I am back. And Zailing once again. I believe I was announcing my intention to try and use the next Something Awaits You in Port to talk to my Blenheim Gallivanter. All right. Go. Let's see what awaits us on the other side of Mutton Island, although I suppose we could also stop in there for a quick port report. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Fill in some gaps in our chart. All right. A promise to a Blenheim Gallivanter is a promise to a Blenheim Gallivanter. It has made its home on a shelf in your cabin. It has built a nest from loose journal pages, the engineer's scarf, and a possibly pilfered map. Chase your Blenheim from the engine room. Gusts of laughter sound from within. Your crew might be happy, but they're not working. A fan. A fluting approximation of a sailor's shanty stops the moment you enter. Engineers glance sheepishly at you, pointedly looking away from the cooling fire. The Blenheim perches on someone's shoulder, curled tight into a small ball. It waves a tendril meekly when prodded. All right. I mean, fun little flavor anyway. I do also love his little mustache that he has drawn on. My perfect little boy. An auroral megalops. All right. Back to Quaker's Haven. A wandering parson. Nothing we can do there just now. Time is passing on Mutton Island. Interesting. Chat to the fishermen. Visit the hilltop above town. Oh. A midnight ceremony. A warm night on Mutton Island. A balmy wind blows from the east, rich with promise. There are torches bobbing up the hill. Whatever's happening is for locals only, but you could follow them. It's just a high enough chance that I might try. Buy supplies, buy fuel. This is our port report, I believe. I wasn't expecting a midnight ceremony. Let's see if our veils can roll well. Too late. You don't know the hill paths like the locals do, and you have to climb more than walk. Your skin is sheened with sweat by the time you reach the top. The black rocks greet you with empty indifference. If something happened up here, you're too late to see it. Still, the climb was good practice. So we got 5 fragments, which is fine. It didn't cost us anything. Not really. Chat to the fisherman. Nothing we haven't seen before, but we got a port report for 1 echo that we can turn in for maybe 10. All right. Let us away to more exciting climbs. And maybe to kill a crab. Here we go. Got me for 2. I got him for 16 and call it even. There we go. It's all of our jobs to prevent carcinization. All right, let's butcher it for supplies. Losing 16 hunger. That's about all we can really expect from an auroral megalops. And then try to fill in some of these squares here while we've got the space in our fuel and supply budget. Here the wild airs mingle with the airs of near reaches. Demo's Gate, named for a navigator lost above. How did his bones come below? I guess I'm going to need to put together a crab or carcinization emote. I'm certainly sure that I would never do anything even a little bit crab-like with or without tongs. These accusations are both false and spurious and libelous. Calumny, is that a relevant term in this situation? System check? Am I too quiet? All right. Let's see if we can't outrun this Jilly floor while we go fill in some other black squares. Calumny is old, even for legal terminology. I suppose it may not be common knowledge here, though I know the Drask, you are aware I am have a background in medieval studies. That is also specifically a false accusation of a crime. Okay, so it kind of fits for my purposes here. Clack, clack, tongs are system check. Okay, yeah, no, I check and make sure the tongs are working. That makes sense. Crab crimes. Okay. I hope one of these things ends up having somewhere I can profitably stop. Let's see. Doing a chart check here, a chart check there, here a chart, there a check, everywhere a chart check. Let's see. Still doing all right. I guess I can always head just like really quite due south if I need to find supplies. A rock breaks the water like a surfacing Z-beast. No, it is a Z-beast. No, it's a rock. The world is webbed with invisible lines. You've crossed one. Tighten them and it would split like a fruit. Comforting thought. Dwayne the Z-Beast Johnson. The Z-Beast would be my WWE name, I think. Creeping tendrils of fungus, Z-weed, unnameable flora. We enter the snares, which is a comforting name for a locale. The labyrinth of eels. Not taking an amazingly direct route here. Gained a secret. Crab cake. A row of watchful Z-bats perch on the ship's railing, their heads swivel in unison as you cross the deck. It's been a whole lot of nothing too useful so far, but I guess the only way to be sure there's nothing there is to go there. Pigmote! Pigmote, 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 pigmote. I'm a little excited to have found pigmote. It's not especially useful for procuring supplies and such, but I like it anyway. Pigmote, pigmote, pigmote. Here we go. 2 houses, both alike in dignity. On a lonely desert beach, there is no habitation in sight, no market, only an old rotting dock. A stretch of sand thickens into damp black earth from which sprout stunted palms? Not quite. Tall fungal growths with frond-like caps, as if someone had sculpted the idea of a tree from a mushroom. Now, I think everybody currently here that I know is currently here was here for the last time we did Pigmoat. But I'm going to read the whole thing again because I love it. And if you're watching the VODs, lucky you. You get to hear me read Pigmoat again. So, disembark. See what awaits you. War? As you step onto the quay, you hear clamor, shouts, and shooting. You can see off in the distance smoke rising from beyond the hill and dots of fire flecking the horizon. Two tiny figures stand a little further down the quay, unmoving as if awaiting your approach. Well, hello, Nick. And Hobbs. A literary interlude. The following is an extract from the popular Diary of a Sea Captain from London to Iram and what we did there before we arrived. Washed ashore on Mutton Island and subsequently serialized in the Unexpurgated Gazette. The author's identity remains unknown. The tale of Pigmoat Isle, in which a delegation is made, a choice is presented, war is declared, and a most singular treasure is sought by all. New empire is founded with tooth and claw. Chapter 1. The Delegation. The figures were rodents. To my left was a Rattus Faber wearing goggles, a blacksmith's apron, and an assortment of tools. To my right, an unusually large guinea pig wearing a helmet and breastplate reminiscent of nothing so much as the High Middle Ages. The rat stepped forward first and bowed. Welcome, Captain, to Ratstar Island. I am Edgar, second chief engineer of the 3rd Rat Brigade. I invite you to avail yourself of food and fuel at our expense. The only cost to you is a choice. The rat stepped back. At precisely the same moment, with what appeared to be the ease of long habit, the guinea pig scuttled forward and made a declamatory chirp. Welcome, Captain, to the Isle of Caviar. I am Lady Augusta Devereux Swinch of the Blackwater Swinches, seneschal to our King Gracenough, first of his name. I invite you to avail yourself of food and fuel at our expense. The only cost to you is a choice. The two stood at attention, looking at me expectantly. The two remarkable rodents squatted, both seeking my support. I knew I had to choose carefully. I spoke to the chief engineer. His eyes had a wave-cold glint to them, and he wore his scars like jewels. A rat in the making. I asked the chief engineer to elaborate. He looked at me for a long, measured moment before speaking gruffly. We came to this island to make a home for ourselves away from London. Its cats and snuffers, its rat-skin suits. We came to live as citizens of our own republic. We came with our tools, our teeth, our clever hands, and we made a beautiful city by the light of the rat star that shone bright and blue on Mount Ararat. That cracks me up every time. The chief engineer nodded towards a distant hill. One day we braved the depths of the chicken woods, and from the top of Mount Ararat we plucked the rat star to be our light, our beacon. But the pigs of Cavi saw the light, and they lusted for it. They sent armies to rule us and steal our star. We will not permit them to take what is ours. We will resist to our last breath. Will you join us in defeating them? I spoke to the seneschal. How did an armored guinea pig manage to look so regal? The seneschal cleared her throat with a delicacy to rival the Duchess's own before speaking. Gracenough the king, our lord and sovereign, full 7 months had sojourned on the sea, conquered this land, and won the southern main. Now no fortress against him shall remain. No city walls be left for him to gain, save the rats that squeak behind mountain. Unlikely was the lamb of our deliverance, assured shall be our glories and their fall, and when our lady's eye restored, be to our hall. The seneschal composed herself, then added, We saw truth and beauty by the light of our lady's eye on Mount Caveat, but the rats with their guns and their chatter and their peasants' politics stole it from us. We will subjugate them and take it back. They are a rabble, and we will rule them with the steel-shod velvet of our paws. Will you join us? So, last time I was here, I did what I always do here, which is I side with the rats, because they tend to glare at you if you attempt to broker a peace, though that might be worth doing another time. And The yeah, I don't like aristocrats. I don't like aristocracy. I don't think it's good or viable. I think they're very cute, guinea pigs wearing armor, but I got to side with the working class, honestly. So I sided with the chief engineer. He seemed grumpy but honest. Also, I knew all too well what rat-made weapons can do. A friend to rats. I extended a finger to the chief engineer, who shook it grimly. The seneschal hissed and chattered her teeth in disgust, but kept her distance. Let me see if I can do that. You made the right choice, said the chief engineer. Let me show you around. The cavies are very silly and appealing in their silliness. Gained 1 fuel and 1 supplies, and we now have a rat in the making 1. You chose to help the rats. Chapter 3, a rat in the making. The chief engineer led me to the northern side of the island, skirting the chicken woods. We passed through a number of what can only be termed checkpoints, as fierce-eyed rats shouldered their derringers and saluted the chief engineer. Soon we come upon a small colony, smaller than some of the infestations I had encountered in London flats, perhaps only 50 Ratisfaber altogether, working diligently to fortify their side of the island. The first thing I noticed was a brilliant light beaming out from a stump of chicken wood about 6 feet high. It bathed the whole settlement in a clean blue glow and was almost too bright to look at. By its light I could see several raised mounds of earth, suggesting shallow tunnels. An efficient fishing operation was set up by the water, an albino rat mending nets while others stabbed sharpened sticks into the waves. Further inland was a barracks where a sergeant barked drills at a small squadron of fighters. My arrival drew attention, and several rats paused in their work to look at me curiously. Welcome to Barinia, said the chief engineer, voice warm with pride. It's not much to look at now, but it will be once we've rousted the cavies. Take a stroll around while I summon the war council. With that, he vanished into one of the mounds and left me to explore. Yes, then I assume that capybaras are not interested in waging war, especially with things so much smaller than they are. So we can visit each of these little places before the war council here, and we'll do just that. I visited the rats' barracks. The drill sergeant appeared to be sizing me up. Were the few rats around her really all she had to launch an attack? We were fighting impressive odds. I approached the drill sergeant and went so far as to salute her, which earned me a grunt of satisfaction. The sergeant dismissed her troops and offered me a bit of chickenwood jerky to gnaw on. There's more of us below ground, she explained, but not enough. The cavies are bigger and there's more of them. We're better with weapons, but we haven't got the stuff to make them with. Most of us came here as stowaways and brought nothing but food, tools, and a fur on our backs. We can fish, and we nibble the chicken woods, but we can't make guns out of trees. The cavies came with their own steamer and seem to have endless supplies. We raid them sometimes, but there's so few of us, and we can never hold on to territory gained for long. But that's of no consequence. All we want is to be left in peace to build our republic. And the Rat Star, she added thoughtfully after a moment. Of course, we want that too. For the benefit of the VODs, Draskarice has said in chat, now I'm imagining a Cappy acting as a cat bus for the LBs, which is perfect. And if I were of the digital illustration persuasion, I would draw it like tonight. Let's take a closer look at the Rat Star. An excitable-looking rat was peering at it through smoky goggles, twitching her whiskers and making notes on what appeared to be real paper. Blue as a sapphire, but endlessly more brilliant. It's not a star, of course, not really, but try explaining that to the others. The chief engineer doesn't want me working too hard to convince them, says it's better for morale, but just look at it, look. She offered me her goggles. I managed to work them over just enough of one of my eyes to see the truth of what she was studying. It was scintillac, but unlike any I had ever seen before, blue as a sapphire, but more brilliant. Something about the clarity of its color was tremendously soothing. The chief science officer tittered with pleasure as I handed her goggles back. Those of us who've been to the Cavi side of the island and lived to tell of it say that there's plenty of glow there, plenty of bright in the water all around, but nothing like this. We took this from the island's center, Mount Ararat, only it's not a mountain, of course, any more than this is a star. It's hollow. There's sweet water inside and coral crawling all up the walls of it, but nothing that glows, save this. And now it's ours, and no one can take it from us. So that's the rat star. Let's head down to the beach. Who ever heard of a rat mending a net? Where the green billows played. An albino rat smiled up at me from his mending work, looking dainty and a little shy. Chicken wood floats, especially when it's dried out and sealed, so we're able to paddle out a bit and cast our nets. We come up with all sorts of things, blindfish, crabs, sometimes a chunk of broken tentacle, but the fishing would never be so good without the rat star. He beamed. I think it only draws good fish and keeps the scary ones at bay. I know the chief science officer doesn't believe it, but I do. That light is our livelihood. What a charming little community. I finished my exploration. The bells of the War Council rang. I was summoned. The chief engineer emerged from underground with a motley assortment of other rats. He introduced them as weapons experts, strategists, and field commanders. So you're going to help us beat the cavies, he said, a hard edge to his voice. But how exactly? I can offer my strategic assistance, which uses veils, lead, which uses irons, or nothing to offer but my advice. Let's see. 51 with veils and 55 with iron. So this is, we engineered a distraction that the LBs could use to plunder the Cavi's ship and turn the tide in their favor. Or I had a ship, I had cannons. We would steer to the southern side of the island and have at those uppity animals. I am amused by the idea of using human-scale artillery to shell guinea pigs. It seems kind of like a war crime. But it is a war crime that has a 4% better chance of succeeding, so probably go with that, especially since I think last time I did the strategic assistance because my veils was my highest stat then. Indeed, Jurassic, no kill like overkill. As the Mythbusters would say, if something is worth doing, it's worth overdoing. So let's try to take the lead here. A palpable hit. The rats gave me what information they possessed about the Cavi's settlement, but I still had to improvise a great deal on the spot. A perfect storm of speed, stealth, and strength in arms favored us, our cannons letting fly a volley of shot onto the beach before the Cavi's could scramble onto their grounded ship to man its guns. Screams and squeals filled the air. The enemy fled. A damp hush settled over my crew as the smoke cleared to reveal the torn, bloodied bodies of guinea pigs littering the shore. A grim business, but I had honored my commitment to the rats and found a wealth of scintillac ringing the beach to harvest as spoils. I was given this. I was thinking a gif of the Mythbusters firing one of their mini cannons through one of their mini pig carcasses, but pulverizing a car into dust then would also work. So, we succeeded. Hail Marinia! 2 houses, alike in dignity, not that this is saying much, mind. Our Pig Mode Isle Might quality is now 5 adequate. Our Pig Mode Isle Civilization quality is 4 troubled. Our Pig Mode Isle Spirit quality is 3 conflicted. We picked up 3 scintillac, coral that glimmers as if moonlit. It makes marvelous jewelry or terribly expensive tea. And a bale of parabola linen. Who plucks the flax from the banks of rivers that flow through sleep? So that was a pretty good haul. Let's see. The house of Cavi had fallen. Marinia was triumphant. All that remained were the celebrations and the continuation of our voyage. Oh, how we feasted long into the night. And then... Insert gif of Mythbusters pulverizing a cement truck with explosives. So, let's see. I can invite one of the Ratisfaber to join us. After all, what's a ship without a few rats? An albino tinkerer might join us. I could intercede on behalf of the Cavies. They were crushed, defeated, and I could see their spirits broken without the light of the Rat Star to guide them. They needed an advocate. Feels only fair, seeing as how I, shelled them from shore. From offshore. And then we can get back into the sea. So, let's see about interceding first. A grudging concession. I appealed to the chief engineer's moral fortitude and sense of fair play. Perhaps the cavies suffered the loss of the light from the center of the island. Perhaps they were only trying to get it back, not steal it from the rats. The chief engineer looked troubled at the thought. We only wanted to be left alone, he said. He looked toward the seneschal, haphazardly bandaged among the rat's other prisoners. Perhaps further negotiations are possible. As I left, I saw the albino rat timidly offering a young cavy prisoner a piece of fresh fish. You forged peace between the rats and the cavies, and the spirit quality is now 6 optimistic. If any of these reach 0, bad things will happen on Pigmoat Isle, is my understanding. And let's invite the albino tinkerer to join us. Welcome aboard. The chief engineer couldn't leave his colony, but he relayed my request to his people. The albino rat I saw mending nets shyly stepped forward. I'm good at fixing things, he said earnestly, and I'd like to see more of the world. I waited for him to gather up some effects and say goodbye to his family before, accompanying him on board. So that actually does cost them some civilization, unfortunately. That said, was I going to pass up an opportunity to have an LB on my ship? Of course not. Carpenter, weaver, engineer's hand, and rat of all work. So, the wide, dark Z beckoned. We had eaten our fill, and our business was concluded. It was time to continue our voyage and see what other wonders and terrors still awaited us. The end. There. You finish your diary entry, and the final dregs of the rat's surprisingly good wine. They line up to salute you as you leave the victory banquet, escorting you to your ship through the foundations of their new republic. We now have a port report, Pigmoat Isle, and that's all for now. So when we come back, we can try and help them, put their civilization together. And as their civilization score gets higher, our prices on getting repairs from them will get better, which is a nice thing to have out at Z, is the ability to repair your ship. So let's see. The Rise of Pigmoat Isle. Hail Marinia, the Neath's most adorable nation scurries around your legs. Scintillac harvesters drag heavy bags of the island's bounty to their silos. Industrious rodents work hard on towering edifices, and some of them almost neck-high. London will never believe a bloody word of this. So yeah, when something awaits you at shore, we can help Marinia resolve a dilemma. Hairless advisor, you return to us. Praise the tide. We need your wisdom once again. Amazing. Very fun. So, I'm not looking to steal the rat star, but that is, of course, a thing that we can also do. They do not have any shops available, shockingly enough. But we did get 1 fuel and 1 supplies from them, as well as helped to found a republic. So we're doing all right. And let's see if we can't, sort of loop through some of this unexplored territory to the other side of Khan's Shadow and just see if we can't find the principles of coral and any other things that we might need. Apologies if there's a little bit of noise. I have to adjust my microphone here ever so slightly. All right. Here we go. Back to Z. If nothing else, we've done a good deed. By helping the Ratisfaber triumph over the aristocratic tyrants of the Cavies. King Graysnaw. All right. The Sea of Lilies. We won't be able to stock up too much here, but we can get a port report and put a useful, if terrifying, place on our map. We watch for fungal pads in the Sea of Lilies. There's a prison here, guarded by knot oracles. Go, bat. Go. This music. Where is everyone? Where did they go? They're here. They're here. You're not alone. I don't know how well you can see it on the stream, but on these lily pads are giant red frogs covered in yellow eyes. Oh, and there's a bound shark. A particularly tormented bound shark at that, which I am not particularly eager to engage. Gotta get me a better ship. We discovered Nupmidit Harbor. This is where that prison is. Wisdom. Here we go. Wisdom. The prison walls are mercilessly steep. Nupmidit built this place as a prison for the Khanate. Now it answers only to its governor, and its governor answers to no one. We could, if we had a prisoner, hand them over. Oh no, we'll pay you, the unctuous fellow says. We can always find a use for another pair of hands. We get lonely, you know, lonely. We could exchange a secret for a prisoner. Wisdom has many, many secrets, far more than one might expect them to glean from the prisoners. But a discerning scholar might identify a secret which would tempt even the governor of the prison. This is unlikely to be profitable unless you have someone specific in mind, and it takes a searing enigma, which is kind of a heck of a thing. You also need 175 pages. We can compile a port report, which I think we'll probably do. Not so many goings. Ships from the Khanate are most common, but you see Chelonite vessels, polythreme triremes with chained and sulky unfinished men, corsairs disposing of their miscreants, even one furtive Iremi skiff. Look, Iremi skiff. The wardens pay them well for their prisoners. We could ransom a prisoner, which takes 3,000 echoes. Wisdom will release prisoners on payment of an eye-wateringly high redemption fee. It's not entirely clear whether this constitutes bribery or a legal instance of Kaganian mercy. And we could try to rescue a prisoner. Scale the walls, enter through the outflow pipes, evade the guards, secure your rescuee without raising any alarms. Don't get eaten by giant toads. You'll only get one chance at this. It is unlikely to be profitable, etc., and it takes quite a few veils. Probably, there are some harborside provisioners here. I don't think we're in desperate need, but good to know, good to know. So yeah, that is wisdom. The place, not the concept. So let's see if we can't fill in a couple more of these squares without getting eaten by a shark, and then start curving our way north. Hey, another anchorage there. There's a shark. Let's stay well clear if we can. Guessing that one might actually be below the surface. I think so. I think we're going to need our submarine. Oh no. Draskarice is singing children's songs. If you're hearing this and not in chat as I stream it, I'll leave it to your imagination what exactly was going on there. Okay, let's see about our bat finding anything. There's something underwater, some distance to the southwest. Yeah, I know. Khan's shadow. No reason not to stop in. Home, warmly lit, windows, company peace, thoughts of home come at the strangest times. The Salt Steppes. This is the domain of the new Khanate, whose ancestors came here long before London fell. All right. Khan's shadow, the city that swam. Long ago, the Khanate turned its back on its warrior traditions. It has no place for pirates and would-be nomads, so here, in the shadow, the exiles make their home amidst 100 wrecked, grounded, and decommissioned ships. Don't have our submarine, so we can't approach the man staring at us. We can't acquire a doomed monster hunter, but we can compile a port report. So many malcontents, so little time. Closely written notes, conniving, debauchery, speechifying, drinking, singing, speeching, poeting. Now and then a drunken duel, very occasionally a savage ritual murder. That sounds very much like Khan's Shadow. Longboard ships provide shelter for exiles. They do have some shops here. Casks of mushroom wine go for very slightly more than they otherwise would, and it's good to remember where you can buy Stygian ivory. Traveler's Friend. It is indeed much better to buy fuel and supplies here than sort of at random. So we may stock up a little bit. If we find Mount Palmerston, I imagine fuel will be cheaper there, but gotta get us a ship. New ship. New ship. All right, let's buy a few of each. And then supplies are going more slowly, but wouldn't hurt to buy just a few. All right, here we go. Just a quick pit stop in Khan's Shadow, and then heading back into the eastern bits here, hoping to come across the Principles of Coral. Discovered the Iron Quarter. Not a bad thing. Kind of try not to get attacked by Khanate war trimarans. Or unfinished pirates, for that matter. Be pulling up my chart a lot, so apologies for any ill effects from that. This looks promising. I think we may have found the Principles of Coral. Yeah! Errant's Gyrus, Regal Complexus. Where's Port Cecil? The Principles of Coral. The corpse rainbow glow from beneath the waves echoes the false stars above. Discovered Port Cecil. Ah, this was perfect. He says, tempting fate. Luminescent beasts like eyeless dolphins play in your wake. Grand neurological experiments. I think almost anything you do in Port Cecil is a grand neurological experiment on some scale of neurological experiment anyway. Port Cecil, a sourceless silver glow, a haven for players of games. Rumpled convolutions of coral fill the water, glimmering with silvery light. The harder you look, the more you see shapes amid the chaos, almost as if they were sculpted. This one could be a crenellated castle, that one a horse's head. A neat little port huddles into the side of a coral island, prosaic imperial docks and houses tucked away in a baroque organic chaos. In that curious silvery light among the frozen chaos of coral, the scene has the unreal air of a pencil sketch, crumpled and discarded. Man, I love the prose in Fallen London and its associated properties. I hope it rubs off on me when I do sit down to write things very occasionally. Chess. Chess is popular in the Principles. The port is full of exiles, drunks, and washed-up Z-traders. They all play, often obsessively. Be careful. The chess pieces are carved from scintillac. Here in the Principles, that can be very dangerous. So this is a pages challenge, which helps us some, and we will probably pursue chess in the Principles in just a moment. We can explore around the coral knoll around Port Cecil. Sea laps dark around silvery coral. Humps and columns rise from the coral, a bewildering maze. Go carefully. We've got our contact in the labyrinth. The Admiral gave you directions to take to meet your contact. Left, right, down, into the labyrinth of coral outside Port Cecil, over the silvered vein, past the castellations of the unfinished court. Excuse me. We will certainly do that as well. Gather intelligence for a port report. What happens here? And then some things that we can't do, putting a Blimmingen ashore and selling our Apasayan chess piece. But we could, if we wanted to, challenge our mirrors to gather scintillac. The best of the coral will fetch a high price in London, but walk the reefs of the Principles and you risk delusion and despair. Take your crew and go carefully. That's a high risk kind of thing, really. Let's see. I will allow chat to do what they're doing. Let's get our port report. Chess, dreams, silver light. The older inhabitants of Port Cecil carry coral and crustaceans like a disease, splotched with silvery light. They like to go up into the limestone heights behind the harbor, to lay their heads against the pillars and towers, stare at the roof of the Neath, dream open-eyed. Sometimes they speak of things far away. The Khanate work, the smuggler wars, the Fathom King's secrets. Perhaps it's not all invented. The curious business of the principals perplexes and intrigues London. Let's meet our contact here. Rubbery Torment. Here's a rubbery man, one of the squid-faced bipedal things that infest the sadder hovels of fallen London. It looks ill or infected. The pearly glow of the coral throbs from a seam along its shoulder. Its arm pulses in its face fronds. "Oh, truth," it pipes cheerfully. It hands you a page of notes smeared with tangerine goo. Can rubbery men write? The hand is elegant and disciplined. Times and dates precisely recorded. I've completed our commission. I now have 2 strategic information. And, with enough mirrors and the right things, I could turn that into vital intelligence. I will chime in here. Chad is talking about me listening to myself during the edit. It is extremely painful to do. I always have to sort of pump myself up to listen back, particularly in the edit where everything is in all the time. But even in going back to listen to edited episodes, it is tough. But I do it for professionalism and science. So let's play some chess. One more game. You don't know how long you've been playing. You want to match another. The rough coral tips of the chess pieces are smeared with blood, yours, your opponent's. But you've begun to realize that your moves recapitulate the movements of powers of the Neath, the flukes and their shapelings, the bazaar that lurks in London, Mount Nomad that prowls the sea, salt, stone, storm. With every move you take, the shape of it becomes clearer in your mind, sharper. Checkmate, you say. One more game? Your first officer is tugging at your arm. Ignore them. You have chess to play. Win enough games and something else will occur. So we succeeded at that, gained pages for it, which is awesome. Opening moves, principles end, principality. The coral is changing, and we gained a secret. So playing chess in Port Cecil, very profitable. Currently still 100% chance of succeeding, so let's do it. That bell was earning another secret. A disciplined success. Odd thoughts bubble up each time you touch a chess piece. This one longs for home. That one has a secret desire for revenge against the slayer of its rank mate. This will be a queen one day. Those would do better as metal. You taste the metal. You ignore these thoughts and move methodically to a victory over your opponent. He blinks. Checkmate? He asks helplessly. We gained another pages. The coral is changing, initial gambits, and we gained 100 fragments. High praise indeed. Thank you, Denois. Let's see, a low-risk challenge. Well, it would be fun to see what happens when we fail as well, so let's see. We succeeded, though. One more game. You don't know how long you've been playing. You want to match another? The rough coral tips of the chess pieces are smeared with your blood. Okay, so this is the same text as the first time. Developments. Got another pages and another secret. Let's see, now it's a chancy challenge, so maybe we'll come back once our pages is a little higher. But in the meantime, I don't feel like our mirrors is going to do too well if we're gathering scintillax, so let's just explore the coral knoll around Port Cecil. Sea laps dark around silvery coral. Humps and columns rise from the coral. A bewildering maze. Go carefully. Oh, goodness. A shadowy predator. It's the little things. The click of a sliding stone where there should be silence. A motion in the shadows as if they were thick-stirred like ink. A lull in the cries of the Z-bats. Something is watching you, drawing closer hour by hour. You and your crew draw back to back, watching the darkness. We could watch, wait, and end it. It has stealth, but you have rifles. All you need is a clear shot, and you'll earn yourself a trophy. For 20% chance. Ooh. Captured alive. This could be tricky. For a 13% chance. Or retreat to the ship. Put clear black water between you and the thing in the shadows, which is an 80% chance of success. I feel like I would want a better chance of success if I were to give this a try. So let's see if we can't retreat. We were fortunate. An orderly retreat. You sense it in the murk, its course parallel to your own, but by the time it draws near, the lights of the port are already ahead. Your sailors clatter up the gangplank, whispering together in nervous overtones. So we gained a tale of terror and, well, one terror. And that is probably about it for us in Port Cecil. Harborside provisioners' prices are what they usually are, so we will pass for now. I feel like the thing to do is going to be to try and see if we can't head northward enough to find the Chapel of Lights, maybe Mount Palmerston, while we have the supplies. I'll keep an eye on them and see if anything looks terrible. Oop. I knew the albino morays hung out around here. We're going to change directions and try to avoid it. We just don't quite do enough damage or stand up in a fight quite enough to really take on some of the scarier Z monsters. Unfortunate, but true. Fogbank was actually probably helping us here as well. Okay. It's not helping our terror at all, of course, but... It's so quiet. Okay. Terror 30. We might even run into Frostfound for our starter officer. I guess we'll see. Distant bells. Scuttering and chittering in the corners of the hold, humped shapes on the deck rail. Ratsy air emboldens vermin. I found Finknottle Vortex, which is a very funny name, and it just occurred to me, I don't think I can change officers at Z, but I didn't check to see what my albino tinkerer does. Can't really talk to him, but he gives us veils, which is honestly pretty useful. I don't know if it outweighs 3 mirrors and 2 pages, but veils is nice to have. Alright, we're going to cut over toward Polythreme if we can. Just clear this map. Come on. There it goes, okay. Oh, we discovered Nuncio. Hang on, there's a port right there. Excellent. McMaster's Haven. Here we go. Nuncio. Do not return sender. Taciturn functionaries walk the docks in the uniforms of postmen. An enormous crowned statue casts a chilling shadow. Shadows gleam with rat's eyes. Their ceaseless chittering rolls like the tide. We go to the postman's tavern, the Inky Blotter it's called. The sign doesn't look like much. We can explore along the beach. There's a long stretch of shale dotted with washed-up kegs and barrels and smaller flotsam. We can assemble a port report. You may not be very familiar with the locals yet, but you can provide a preliminary overview. Well, let's see if we can't familiarize ourselves a little bit with the area first. Let's start by exploring along the beach. Shifty going. The rocks slip and slither underfoot, but you keep your balance. Every lap of the wave drags up some new letter or parcel. The face of the water is dotted with them as far as you can see in the blackness, carried by a powerful current. We can argue with a man holding a broom. He is determined. He keeps shoving letters back into the sea. The sea keeps shoving them back. We can assist a man holding the broom. Both of you together still won't achieve anything, but maybe he'd feel better. We can accept a squishy parcel, or rescue a squishy parcel. Accepting no further reads a red scrawl across the wrapping. Or we can go back to the docks. Let's help out the broom guy. Surprisingly soothing. In the long term, what you're doing won't make the slightest bit of difference. Every sodden bit of paper you fling out to sea will come back in a few hours. But for now, you manage to clear a little patch of shore, a few feet on each side. The stones are bare, as they should be. Companion turns his head towards the sound of your work and gives you a little nod. We are now learned in Postal Secrets 1, aware of Flotsam and Jetsam, and we have a newcomer nuncio cultivating friendships with postmen. We also lost some terror, so pretty good. We can start to study the currents here if we want to. Rescue a squashy parcel. I mean, yeah, let's rescue a squashy parcel. Why not? Funny smell and little wonder. The string of rats within may once have been fresh and, to certain tastes, delectable. It is now rather the worse for decay. Giving the parcel's contents to hasty burial is the best you can hope to do. Just before you dispose of it, though, note the recipient's name and address. A name of some power worth remembering. 10 fragments for our something awaits you. And, a modest challenge of pages doesn't seem like we're risking very much. Maybe just some terror. No, we failed. It's no use. A few hours of exploration, of squinting out to sea and flinging shiny floats back into the water, produces no better understanding than before. I mean, I guess there's nothing to keep us from just trying it until we get it, right? That didn't pass any time. It didn't cost us anything. So, see if it works. Failed. Hey! On all sides. You make a complete circuit of the island. The whole shoreline is alike, all of it covered in debris, all of it washing steadily inland from every direction. Not the work of some directional current, it's more as though the whole Untersee were draining into Nuncio. Except, of course, that force did not affect your ship when you came this way. It does not stop ships leaving. Evidently, it only works on post. Let's go back to the docks. And go to the Postman's Tavern. Warmer inside than it looks. Faces turn in your direction, but no one seems surprised to have a new arrival on the island. Lit by 2 roaring fires, one at either end of the room. The bartender is in postman's uniform, like almost all the patrons. A noseless postal inspector called Blunt Thomas delivers the drinks, clears tables, stacks firewood. Let's see. We could allow the clattery air to offer her services. She could remove the call from a postal worker. They wouldn't be a worker anymore, of course. Yeah, horrible profile for a stamp indeed, Drask. We can listen in on postal tall tales. Fishermen brag about fish that got away. Postmen brag about hard deliveries. We can ask why the local currency consists of rats. 2 strings of rats for a pint of ale, 3 strings for wine, 5 for the tolerable brandy under the bar. Could ask why the hairless postwoman is hairless. Legacy of some interestingly explosive package, maybe? You can ask about that big statue in the center of the island. If there were a guidebook for visitors, it would have to be the first entry. You could ask how they all occupy themselves. There has to be more than this. We could ask why letters wash ashore here. Maybe one of them will know. I mean, why not, right? The pull. It's the pull, they tell you. Dead letters are like so many iron filings drawn to Nuncio. See for yourself, suggests the hairless postwoman. Go down to the shore, collect up a bunch of what's washed there, and you'll feel it soon enough. Say it's time for the rest of us, says another voice. Apparently beach scavenging is a civic duty hereabouts, like working in the dead letter office. So we got cultivating friendships with postmen and learned in postal secrets, and also worker in dead letters. Invited to serve 10 fragments. Cool. Let's see. Let's ask about the statue. The monumental postman. Oh, that. It's all of us, isn't it? Sort of the spirit of the island. Most of them don't seem troubled for more of an explanation than that, though the hairless postwoman tells you it didn't always look like a fallen London postman at all, that it used to have a different face and a more old-fashioned outfit. Woohoo. Let's see. We can ask why she's hairless. Faux pas. No, she says. Curt, not pleased you ask. Still had eyebrows when I came to Nuncio. The postman at the next bench diverts you, speaking in a low voice. So people find habits when they can't deliver the post anymore. This one has a plucking habit. Best learn not to notice. You glance up. The hairless postwoman is still glaring at you. Yeah, it was rude, but also, what am I going to not ask questions? Ask why the local currency consists of rats. Scarcity is not an issue. The hairless postwoman at the end of the bar smiles mirthlessly, or maybe it's just the lack of eyebrows that does it. Long enough carrying the things around, you get into the habit, she says. Then she tells you that if you stay out late enough, you'll see some of the postmen making a procession into the center of the island, stringing up rats around the statue like Yuletide decorations in prayer to an ancient deity of this place. From the coughing and choking elsewhere in the pub, you'd guess this is a story they often tell to newcomers. Listen in on postal tall tales. Amazing what you get for a penny stamp. Delicate bottles lowered down chimneys on a rope. Do not fold under any circumstance letters curled through a narrow slot. Rattling, groaning crates brought back to the same address every day for 22 days running. The windows they pried open, the servants they bribed, the delivery surcharges they paid out of their own salaries just to get rid of one more packet. It's hard to tell which they hate more, the senders of mail or the recipients. Stands to reason if the message was a welcome one, they'd tell the other fellow in person, reflects the hairless postwoman. The do not fold under any circumstance letters curled through a narrow slot really spoke to Draskarice. I do get it, though. I do. Let's see. Let's try a shift at the dead letter office. There is a sign of a canceled stamp over the door. Extensive tour. Blunt Thomas takes you around the office, a small collection room where those retrieving letters may state their business. A much larger set of back offices where newly arrived letters and parcels are collected and sorted. A dank, briny smell that never goes away, presumably because so many of the parcels spent time in the water before they arrived here. In the back room is a machine manned, ratted by a postal rat, a Rassus Faber in a pinstriped hat. It shovels sludge-damp letters into the machine's hopper, and they come out dried, cleaned, pressed, and sorted into slots by size and quality of paper. We're now working shifts. Get moist von Lipfig in there, stat. Shift work in the dead letter office. One has various possible occupations here. None could be described as fast-paced. If we had our Something Awaits You, we could make a study of what goes on in the back room. The machinery looks interesting. We could converse with a postal rat. We could ask the postal rat for a key to the basements. We could end our shift. Well, let's start by conversing with the postal rat. Sometime, or perhaps he'll have some insights on the inhabitants of the island. On the islanders. Do you like having sticky hands? Asked the postal rat. Most people, they have sticky hands. They can't wait to clean them, yes? For a postman, an undeliverable parcel is sticky hands. Bothers you till it's fixed. The longer you serve in the post office, the worse it feels. Delivering a letter correctly is good, so not delivering it is bad. The unclean feeling gets too strong, and they come here. That does sound unpleasant. Let's see. Converse with the postal rat. Why doesn't it make a machine like this one back in London? Might lead to fewer dead letters in the first place. I have a feeling we're going to get a crabby answer here. Regulations. Oh, no, that wouldn't be permitted at all. There are strict rules about the initial handling and sorting of post. An experimental machine might mangle the letters. It's only the dead material that's unimportant enough to be entrusted to a Rattus Faber. His voice isn't bitter, but he twists a coil so hard that it springs sideways out of the machine and pings off your shoe. Ask the postal rat for a key to the basement. There are doors in the dead letter office that you've never seen opened. Surely you can be trusted. Surely. No trouble at all. He's surprised by the request. Most postmen don't like it down there. No one ever asks for a key, but he'll cut you a new one. Just be careful in there and come out if you start to feel wrong. Authorized for backroom access. And permanent jam hands indeed. All right. I mean, I feel like I'm signing myself up for a sort of new neurosis, I guess. But let's open the back room. The key is warm in your pocket. Deeper and deeper. You had expected a few shelves of supplies? More files of letters a few years older? No. It is a pit, so deep that lantern light does not show the bottom. A spiral walkway descends along its wall, and that spiral opens wider as it goes, as if you were looking through the narrow end of a very large shell. Lining this wall are shelves and nooks, unevenly sized. Some are a few inches square and contain single scrolls of papyrus. Others support crates bigger than coffins. They're made of a woody fungus grown to meet requirements. There are no marks of carpentry or any of the postal rat's handiwork. 3 turns down the spiral and you feel you can't breathe. Time to leave. You can come back later. Maybe. I've gained 5 terror. Whew. Tell the postal rat about your basement findings, gives you something new to chat about, or make a further solitary exploration of the basement. Perhaps you were so hasty in leaving earlier, it can't be so very bad. I don't know, it sounded pretty awful. But let's talk to the rat about it, and then maybe we can see about moving on. Troubled, but not surprised. They say that thing's been there since before we came. Before there were Londoners in the Neath. Before there was a dead letter office, there was someone else, and they built the last layer on top of what was there before, and so on. When you press him a little further, he says, I've been down there. Didn't like it much, but I wanted to test my machine. Thought if it could handle some of the very dull dead letters, it would be a good sign, evidence the machine was in working order, good strong sorting categories, and so forth. He pauses. There's letters down there that set your hair on fire if you so much as look at them. See the bald patch on my left leg? That wasn't a machine accident. Oh, no. That singed right off as soon as I put my nose in one of them letters. Gained a tale of terror and an extraordinary implication. Goodness. How very valuable. And yeah, absolutely correspondence related. So we can't do it now, but if we bring some foxfire candles and a flare, we can descend into the basement. Or we could try to use our mirrors, both the stat and the actual object. That's the word I was looking for. Oh, interesting. Anything so says playing Mask of the Rose, the murder mystery kind of dating sim in the setting, has helped him understand the writing much more. Interesting. Yeah. Well, that's good to know. And you'll probably eventually see me play Mask of the Rose on this channel. It won't be the very next thing I do, but it's definitely sort of in the hopper, I guess. All right, let's assemble a port report and then head out. I think we'll get a more valuable port report for having done all that stuff before, having the secrets, postal secrets and some friendships should help us. Most of the inhabitants were Londoners once, but that doesn't mean they are now. Uniform behavior. Cataloging all the peculiarities of the place takes many pages. The tailor who imports gilt buttons and braid just to be able to keep everyone's uniform in condition. The fashion of wearing a post bag with nothing inside. Wearing it open, wearing it upside down, torn apart, or as a hat. Wearing it anyway that will show it doesn't have letters in it. Then there are the sitting rooms, papered and cancelled stamps. The bergamot pomegranate curd on toast. The commerce in rat corpses. The hatred of cats. The absolute custom against ever issuing a paper invitation for any event, no matter how formal. It's the familiarity, the not quite Londonness of the place that makes it all so odd. The statue's hard to miss. All right. Well, that was a wonderful find. Let's maybe go around the north side of it and then angle ourselves toward Polythreme in a leisurely way, because the Polythreme port report will be, I think, good to have, but I do want to try and see if I can find Frostfound, Chapel of Lights, Mount Palmerston, all things that I'm used to being in the north that I haven't found yet in my sojourns in this direction. And we're doing pretty well. I mean, not infinitely well, but pretty well. Is this a rat barge? I think this is a rat barge. Oh boy. Oh, it's a fairly tough rat barge too. Let's try to avoid it. Don't know how well that'll go. Rat barge from Ratsea. Creative little LBs. I guess little LBs is actually redundant. Creative LBs. Garrick's Scalpel. I don't know if it's come up before. LB is an abbreviation of Little Bastard, which is another way of referring to Ratus Faber. Garrick's Scalpel. Head a little further north, perhaps. The waves are flecked with light. Let's take risks. I guess I'm not too far from Irem. I could try to make it there. We'll see. It just gets dangerous. Go north. How dare you? This must be Void's approach. The air crackles with frosty radiations. To the north, the false stars fall and in the darkness. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. I don't know if you can make out the bottom right corner of my screen, but it's something I do not want to fight at all. At all, at all. Not at all. Oh, boy. Fog. Hide me. Hey, we discovered the Chapel of Lights. That's great. It has a port, and that port will keep me safe. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Okay. Now I'm just nervous because I know it's out there. Reasonably sure that what I just saw in the bottom right corner of my screen was Mount Nomad. I do not like it. I do not want it. Okay. Chapel of Lights. We needed to get here. Excellent. Furtive faithful gather in the shadows between the many, many candles. A bell tolls in the chapel tower, cracked iron laughter. Beware, the aisle is full of voices. It's very funny to consider the Chapel of Lights a safe haven. It's not a not a common sentiment. So we don't have a nightmare that we can give to the well, but I want to read the bit here. The well drinks color, the smiling priest whispers. The well drinks dreams, and the well is always thirsty. Which will reduce our nightmare's strength, but scar us permanently and increase our wounds by 1. 3 will kill us. We can gather intelligence. Yeah, to Draskari's thing, the Chapel of Lights in Fallen London, the original browser game that sort of introduced this setting, is it's pretty obscure in that it's some late game stuff and one of the very most elaborate, difficult, and dangerous, I guess maybe is the word, perilous, self-destructive like storylines called Seeking Mr. Eaton's Name. But yeah, it's just a place here. It has some things, for sure. It has some things. So let's see. We can gather intelligence. We can attend a service. And of course, our sigil-ridden navigator races towards the chapel. This is the place. Hark, the bell. So let's do that first. You give chase. Within, the air is heavy and hushed. Consultation in the chapel. You enter to see your navigator shaking a smiling priest by the collar. Let me hear. Tell me what it means. Look at it. Look at it. The priest disentangles himself as politely as possible. I'm sure we can find a path to put you on, my friend. He examines the sigil with the professional air of a collector. But we will need your help in return. So we could pay 2 live specimens. Our stores are running low. If we cannot feed our congregation, our mission must end. Can you provide? The fresher, the better. Your navigator has nothing. He pleads for your help. I mean, if I had live specimens, I would absolutely give them. We could, under different circumstances, pay another price. The priest slips his arm around your shoulders. For you, a lesser payment, he whispers. Post no guards on your ship tonight, ask no questions, and in the morning, perhaps you'd like to join us for breakfast. A red and white smile. So we can do neither of these things currently, unfortunately, but now at least we know where it is for our navigator. We can gather some intelligence. A smiling priest in a red cassock tends the chapel. The congregation are shy of light. They come and go in little ships, and it's strangely difficult to count them. Perhaps some of them are imaginary. Still, you note the name of a ship or two. A million candles glow, a congregation gathers. Oh, that gentlest of euphemisms for cannibalism. Yes, unaccountably peckish is in fact a euphemism for cannibalism. And I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I don't know exactly how far Seeking Mr. Eaton's Name in Fallen London went in 2014 when this was released, but probably they're we're working out some of what this area was going to be in the fiction before Seeking Mr. Eaton's Name went that far. But I don't know for sure. Just kind of guessing. Let's see. We've got 100% chance here. The great bell tolls. Few and ragged faithful gather for St. Arthur's lesson. Bring your offerings. We could do it, but it would leave us with very little supplies, and I can't buy any here, so I'm not going to. Also, Chapel of Lights, do you hear music? So, let's see where we can try to... I guess let's head to Irem if for no other reason than because heading south feels dangerous right now. So I'm going to try to angle for the top right corner here of the map and see what I can find in the direction of the place that messes with verb tenses. The Avid Horizon is here. Oh, it's very far away. It's usually closer to London. The crawling stars. The lookout shouts. Far above, the false stars in the cavern roof are shifting. A rare and ominous event. What now? Yeah, let's try our luck. We had this one last time too. If the new shape seems well omened, your crew may be cheered. Who knows? We were fortunate. The Z-Bat. Bats his luck, a gap-toothed stoker avers. All agree. Leathery, but lucky. So we lost 5 terror, which is great because we're about to head to the Avid Horizon. Goodness. Burning blue. A hiss of horror from the lookout. The glim lamp at the front of the ship is sputtering and arcing, fizzing with blue light. Even as you watch, the blue fades, but it's not a good omen. So we could spin a Z story, or we can challenge our hearts, which are pretty good. And we succeeded, gaining a fragment and no terror. Light meets dark. The darkness underneath is more than the absence of light. It's a physical presence which distorts the shape of the world. Your light melts the darkness, restores sanity to the world. You explain something of this to your sailors. It's not the first time they've heard it, but they seem slightly less nervous. To Den's point about they seem to think that people count as supplies, take a them. Had I unaccountably peckish, perhaps I could. And here's the Avid Horizon. Sure, it's fine. Those glyphs are all correspondence sigils. Very northern edge. Avid Horizon. This is the end. 2 vast winged shapes guard a gate of something like resin, smooth but uneven. It is deep gant, the color that remains when all other colors have been eaten. Ice crusts over the crack between its valves. Approach and your breath freezes, falls tinkling in shards from the air. It would be utterly foolish to touch the thing. A merciless wind blows from everywhere to everywhere. It passes without effort through your bridge coat, your flesh, your lungs. The dock lies empty. So we won't be able to open the high gate. A curious miscellany gathered from all across the wide Black Sea. Your companion knows how to use these materials. We'd have to complete a certain matter in London to achieve this, and it would take 40 materials for the passage, which we have 0 of. We can look into the stars. Stars float in the mirrored night of the waves. Watch them a while. Seems likely to increase our terror, so I may not. We could gather intelligence, such as there is to gather out here where nothing moves. And you heard a story. The ice by the gate's edge. There was a whisper about a hunting quest and a final revenge. With no more than 0 hunter's eyes, we could use 77 fragments to see about it, which we may do. As Draskari says, there are 2 things he knows of in Fallen London that take you to that gate, neither particularly good or kind. So let's gather intelligence. Nothing moves. This stillness is itself of interest to the Admiralty. It is not impossible someone foolish might attempt to open the gate. It is not inconceivable that it might open from the other side. And what then? Your journey here may attract the attention of a certain Crimson patron. Return your port report to the Admiralty to unlock a new story. Let's see. Let's see what we get for You Heard a Story. Behind the ice. Yes, this is what the rumors meant. A hunter frozen in the ice, hands contorted to claws, mouth agape. With her left hand, she had plucked her own eye from the socket. It lies very close to the surface of the ice. The stories are true. There's a dark virtue in that eye. Take it then, but perhaps you should put it in a jar. You now have 1 times hunter's eye. Eat the flesh of the deep lurkers, and your eyes will change. So that's a thing. That sure is a thing. Don't think there's anything else to be done here at the Avid Horizon, so in and out of game, I'll finish my whiskey and head on. And hopefully not run into Mount Nomad. Let's head over to Irem. I'm at a point now where I will definitely have to buy more fuel to get back to London. But I'm not so low on it that I'm actually super worried. Maybe I should be. I mean, I'm worried about some things, but not about that. I'm worried about Mount Nomad. I'm worried about just being in Avid Horizon. I'm worried about a lot of things. Strange puffs of warmth from the air behind the ice. This is the pillared sea where Irem will lies, has always lain. Oh, it's a little further south. Hee. Oh, what a good game. Hello, Irem. I would love it if your part of the chart would fill in, please. Good Lord. All right, well, we got a little bit more mapped in there. Here we go. Carlisle's Haven. Irem, none have ever spoken truthfully of this place. The boxmakers, a heavy-lidded fellow in a satin smock will smile at you. One of ours, he will say. We made it to order for a Zeke captain to guard her legacy. She might tell you the phrase. We do not. You will give them the box. We will keep it safe for the Zeke captain in case she returned long ago. When it was opened, it will be safe. We will compensate you. Or you will ask them where to find the captain. Are you sure you want to know? The heavy-lidded fellow will ask. Perhaps she doesn't want to tell you the key phrase, no matter how much you offer. Perhaps she wants a box back. Well, it seems like we can sell our whisper-locked box and just kind of opt out of the story, or we can continue the story. And I think there's only one thing to do there. Draskreis has put in the chat, you will go to Irem brackets and buy supplies ? But I think the Iremi way to say that is you will go to Irem and have bought supplies. Yeah, let's see if we can find this Z captain. Which is the cat's chiefest claw? What cage imprisons nothing? The fellow will say. Where do petals begin? Where do stories end? He beams at you. Actually, for an Iremi riddle, that's almost helpful. The Iremi appears to be suggesting you look to the Isle of Cats, somewhere in the south of the Z. Probably. You are seeking the phrase that will open the whisper-locked sea chest. So yeah, we haven't really explored the south very much just yet, but we will. So, Irem, the pillared city. She will rise from the Z and the ice like dawn. She will be garlanded with red and decked with gold. The seven serpent will watch you longingly from its high pedestal. You will always arrive as a stranger, but when you leave, some part of you will always remain. So we can compile a port report. The House of the Amber Sky we don't have access to because we don't have any Dark Drop coffee. Didn't think I was going to come this far. Didn't bring any. But rest, traveler. Our waters are warm. Our cushions are petal soft. Lay your head here. You will be healed, or better yet, you will be renewed. Payment and coffee? Yes, please. So, compile a port report. You will record what you will have seen. A conundrum. When you sit down to write the report, you will recall that it was written already. Who wrote it? The report records that. It was already written when it was found. Who found it? The report describes another report, which will indicate the name of the finder. Where is the other report? There is a footnote which describes when you will record its location. When will that be? When all is well, and all manner of thing is well. We now have one port report, Irem. You will have been there. Shops. So you can spend secrets to buy things here, which is honestly really cool. Especially when you have a fair few secrets, and I've got a couple. You can also buy parabola linen, which is fairly valuable for half a secret, basically. Depending on your pages, of course. Threshold. Or actually, I guess I should have said the last market. Beyond this place, who knows? The Fisher of Dawn. This one will find treasures in a river beyond sleep. Bring a suitable antiphon. Threshold. None sail east from Irem. This shop is for those who sail east from Irem. And wind come calling. Tales and tales and tales. Which is where you can get some stuff. And the prices are really kind of nonsensical in a lot of ways, but also like this is where you can exchange secrets and one type of information for another and whatnot in a way that if you are able to continually fuel up and get from place to place. I believe this is the way to basically get infinite money, is to use the exchanging services here at Wind Come Calling. You'll notice that we can buy strange catches here, which is pretty good, I believe, if we want to have the next thing with the clattery air, we could buy one. These other things that you can buy for secrets are useful, but maybe not more useful than secrets. I did buy a Judgment's Egg here once. Is this a soul? It's pale and bright. Souls like this, they say, are the spores of strange gods. But of course, I didn't really know what to do with it. So in that game, my captain had a child. And so I just gave the Judgment's Egg to my kid. as a souvenir from the Z. It pointed out how odd that was in the game, but I was like, well, I'm kind of odd, so it was fun. I enjoyed that. Element of dawn, and yet it moves. A piece, emission, or work of the dawn machine. So yeah, need to buy at least fuel. Supplies wouldn't go amiss. I'll buy the strange catch to talk to the clattery air. Let's see. And yeah, spending a lot, but I think it's better to live. Unsurprisingly, Z-faring parent is not a great parent. Yeah. Well, one of the things that giving a gift of a judgment's egg does is sort of ensure that your heir will also go to Z, which affects your sort of legacies when that captain dies, and you can sort of bequeath things to your next. You could write a will basically at that point. But yes, Z-faring parent, not great parent. Let's have that dinner with the clattery air, shall we? Pardon me. She becomes more talkative when she has something to cut. Perhaps you can get her to say more about her father. Who was he then? There's flensing, deboning, an orderly arranging of scales from large to small. Okay, now to remember how I made the clattery air sound. This was the creature's favorite organ, she says, working briskly with tweezers and blade. Don't touch it. The purple bits are toxic. She only turns to personal matters when she's had a chance to rinse her fingers. I get my proficiency with metal from both sides of my family, she says, watching your expression closely. Then, Mother was a favorite with Mr. Iron. She said that they only worked together, that Mr. Iron sponsored her work and provided her with tools, sharper tools that do not bend so easily. You learn about the clattery air, now aware of the clattery air's claims of parentage. You've grown closer. Is that safe? Fascinating. Yeah, so she believes that Mr. Iron is her father. And we're going to need a live specimen if we want to talk to her about it. We got to rake in some live specimens. We got to get a few here if we want to. All right, let's look at our chart. So I don't really want to go south because it's very dangerous along the eastern edge of the map. I guess I'll sort of weave between the Avid Horizon and the Chapel of Lights and see what I can't find heading back west in a northerly fashion, and I can kind of put in where I need to get supplies and maybe grab some more Sphinx Stone on my way if at all possible. I mean, we'll see what happens. This is a very daring venture, but I'm, resupplied, so let's be daring. And hope that our fortunes, when we come back to London, put us out ahead in the bank account department, so to speak. Not that this captain has a bank account. And I guess I've been going for a while already. I'll guess wind down sometime in the next 30 to 50 minutes. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I do. If I want to earn coral interest, I need a bank account. That's a good point. Won't be able to go too much further north. Hey, I got to the north edge of the map. Again. Yeah, filling in the map edges is a little easier. They're a little nicer about it. All right, let's see. I guess if nothing else, this is an area where Mount Nomad is unlikely to try and thread through all of the different obstacles, so... All right, filled it in. Woohoo! Man, I hope this captain goes a while. This has been fun to get a little further, do a little more. All right. If we can find Mount Palmerston, that'll be a cheap place to refuel. Not quite as cheap as the Iron Republic, I don't think, but pretty cheap. This must be Void's approach. All right. Glassy chop of dark water, the iron clatter at the feet of the hatchway. Fed the crew. Let's see how this goes. This music isn't ominous. Your music is ominous. I am worried about running into lifebergs up here. I am not equipped to a place where I could fight one, really. Go, just trying to fill in the upper part of my map here. Okay, got that. Let's angle back down. Keep our terror managed. Oh, this is scary. False star flares in the cavern roof directly above you. Flares and fades. We're in danger of doing one of those little corner cuts, so let's try to fill this in a little bit. There we go. And then back this way. Just don't want to miss anything. Let's send our Z-Bat out. Let's see if it finds... Oh, Palmerston's Reach is somewhere. I do not want to fight this ship. Mount Palmerston. Oh, good lord. Please don't shoot me. Please don't shoot me. Please don't shoot me. You shot at me. Port Palmerston. Mount Palmerston. Success. I guess Frostfound is closer than it usually is. Whew, made it. Okay. Brimstone. Always brimstone. Sullen lights glow green at the jetty's edge. Behind the port buildings, the island is knee-deep in ash. There are ruins here and there of houses destroyed by fire. Far above, the mountain's top flickers red just for an instant. Cannot yet take note of a veiled woman, unfortunately. We could explore the island. We could engage an officer, the merciless modiste, but we don't have quite enough parabola linen. What would her voice be like? Yes, you'll do nicely. I need a ship, dear heart, and I rather flatter myself that you need me. So, one day we will be back for the merciless modiste, but we'll have to have some more parabola linen at the time. Chat to the port folk about the Brimstone Convention. There was a revolution in hell, and the aristocracy of devils fled here. Here they plot in exile. Just 2 supplies to dig, but I think I'm going to hoard them a little bit. So let's get our port report first. A shrug and a curse. They don't do us any harm. They stay up there, and we stay down here. If hell's fighting itself, that's good for us all, isn't it? A detailed report of the place on a place of interest. Admiralty would value it. Let us explore the island, or do we want to go up to the crater? They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but the road to the Brimstone Convention is paved with cinders. Up the road. Do they admit visitors to the Brimstone Convention? Probably not. But you never know. They might sell tickets. Let's do it. Above the bay. Look down and see Port Palmerston like a toy, and the ruins like gravel. You've come far, but the volcano's cone still rears above you. Rest a little before you go the last half mile. You found a little cottage by the gate to the Brimstone Convention. The road to the crater ends at a brass gate in the crater wall. Beside it stands an oddly charming little cottage. It's thrown together from pumice and basalt, but it features honeysuckle. An equally charming deviless in a tea gown leans against the cottage wall, twirling a parasol and fanning herself. I'm the guardian of this place, she remarks languidly. You may not pass, but can I offer you a cup of armillaria tea? Goodness. Tea with the deviless. Armillaria? That's not one of the poisonous ones, is it? You're pretty sure it's not. Or, no thank you. You haven't brought a sufficiently long spoon, perhaps. Anything so's likes the devils. Cannot blame her. All right. Let's have tea. They're hot. Get it? Terror in a tea gown? No doubt she'd be much less pleasant if you tried to break down that gate, but just now she's a courteous, soft-voiced woman in a tea gown. The tea is hot and nutty and rather pleasant. She asks about your voyages. She's desperate for news of London, of its mists, its nights, its sick, its poor, its fires. She tactfully turns aside questions about the convention, but she shares some of the secrets of the Neath. Come and see me again, she says. Next time you're here. She shrugs gracefully. Bring me a present, if you like. We've taken tea with the wistful deviless and gotten some fragments. So, yeah, I think that used our something awaits you. Let's head over to Malbolge excavations, diggery, lootery, and scholarly. Also, zoop. Yeah, the fuel is quite cheap here. Let's bring her the rat star and propose. I'd have to steal the thing first. Daily bread. Palmerston's pernicious pollution poisons provisions, so it's a little bit more expensive, but not as much as Harborside provisioners tend to charge. So let's stock up on some fuel. And just a little bit of supplies. Just keep ourselves topped off. Stay safe out here. Zoop. I don't know that I need it for anything in particular. I don't remember what it sells for in London. Probably almost anything that I could buy here would be useful in London, but I guess I am kind of coming up on the salt lions and don't have a ton of cargo space. Yeah, only 8 right now. So maybe I won't carry Sphinx Stone this time. Yeah, ambiguous aeoliths are hard to come by. A thinking creature made this, or the sea made this, or both. Zoop is the color, old blood on snow, the taste, paprika, mushrooms, irony. The recipe, closely guarded. And then, of course, devilbone dice. The nature of these yellowish morsels is unclear, except that they're unlikely to be composed of deceased devils. They're kept in sealed canisters, possibly as ammunition. All right. Let us check our chart and see if we can't give this scary ship here the slip, so to speak. I feel like I should try to find Frostfound while I'm up here. Boy, try saying that 10 times fast. That's probably the thing to do. And then if we find it, depending on where it is, that will inform where we go next. Because, I mean, we're close-ish to Godfall and Gator's Moor, and there may still be something kind of in this area here, but I don't want to head back south until I've located Frostfound. Just checking to make sure everything is filling in nicely. The fact that I haven't seen a single Lifeberg yet worries me. I feel like I'm going to find the Lifeberg convention here sometime soon. That's a terrifying thought. Bless whoever put all these lantern buoys out here in these scary, perilous areas. There we go. Ooh, This has been a long trip, but not a bad one. Thank you to everybody who's been coming with me on it. I don't know that I will get back to London before I call it this evening, but I will at least make one more stop. See if our bat can do its little job. No islands. Okay. There we go. Filled in the chart. Back over this way. I am a little perturbed that I have not found anything else yet. There's not a whole lot left up here. Needs discovering, really. This looks promising. I think this is... We enter the storm bones. Saint Eligius sends his fire to dance in the air on deck. Very far away we see the great light of the ragged crow. And we found something underwater with our bat. So that's a thing. Discovered the ragged crow, which is also not frost found. Goodness gracious. So many things out here aren't frost found. Big old lighthouse. Certainly nothing upsetting ever happens there. At least, not if you don't have a submarine. Oh. This northern expedition of mine has been rather stressful. Far off, very far off, someone screams. Okay, there it is. Directly above the salt lions. I was very close to it. Frost found, vast and chilly, a fortress sieged by questions, answers, and riddles. Man, for a bunch of like top-down digital paintings of things, this game is really good at just art. And like the way that light plays over the depths of the Z, that can't have been easy. How cool. All right. We found Frost found. Towers and ramps and galleries and stairs of ice raised and spun like an architect's honey dream. No spider ever wove so complex a web. The towers are utterly pristine, untouched by human life, but a pitiable encampment squats by the dock. Oh, the tireless mechanic is here! He increases Vale's and fuel efficiency. We'll talk about him in just a moment. Also, I would like to point out here, enter Frostfound. A long flight of stairs rises glistening to a sheer tower. There's no door. Your reflection hangs in the cloudy ice. You cannot enter Frostfound if your terror is greater than 20 and should not enter Frostfound without a good reason. So yeah, our terror is 32 and it just will not let us in. You also need Mirror's 50 to give it a try. So let's see. Take tea with the squatters at the dock. Some of them wear the robes of Iremi riddle fishers. Some look like Withern folk, but even more ragged. They do seem a little more practical than either of those people. Or we could ask the squatters about the castle. You notice they avoid looking at it directly. Let's compile a port report first. What are the squatters up to? Bickering amiably. Not all are Iremi or Withern. There's the odd researcher, the occasional deranged ice sculptor. Now and then a very cold, very sad, rubbery man. but for the most part, an atmosphere of friendly rivalry reigns. Pristine towers of Z ice, an encampment of questions and riddles. Definitely we're going to engage the tireless mechanic. The tireless mechanic has had enough of Frostbound. He smiles at you over his spectacles, teeth chattering. Brr, so glad to see a ship at last, ready to offer my services. I'm an engineer, finest you'll ever hire. Treat engines like my own children. Not that I have children, too busy, usually busy. And he only costs 20 echoes, so we're definitely going to hire him. Welcome aboard. Spot of rust, soon see to that. You there, help me with this spot of rust. Does he ever sleep? His eyes are dark-circled, but his hands are steady. One of the cheaper officers to engage. Allow the sly navigator to examine the tower. He climbs the steps, panting eagerly. This is a Z, you see? He calls back. The Z risen to become land. Ice is the soul of the Z. In ice we find the Z at her most exemplary, and he's off again. You leave him to examine the tower, staring up at the battlements, his breath dragon huffing. Where is he? Only a few minutes later, you glance back, and the navigator is gone. You climb the steps to examine the spot where you saw him last. His coat lies in the snow. His footprints end at the tower wall. You poke through his coat and find a brass telescope from the Khanate, a much annotated chart, tobacco, an alarming quantity of lice. But the navigator is gone. You never see him again. We gained an outlandish artifact and a revelatory chart. Oh! As well as, this belongs in a museum, assuming that colonial imperial appropriation for the purpose of hegemonic taxonomization is a suitable response to the problem of intercultural contact, which it probably is, because museums are magnificent institutions. Exemplary. Thank you, Trask. All right, so we lost our guy, but, I mean, it's what he wanted, so let's take tea with the squatters at the dock. A surprisingly warm welcome. We're keeping the steps for the game of truths, a helpful Riddle Fisher explains as she fills your cup for the third time. Every year, the people of Irem and Wither meet here for... She pauses. Contests, she finished vaguely. The difference between a question and a riddle. One day, someone will prove themselves enough to enter the castle. You spend a pleasant few hours, while the tea is supplemented with Iremi liqueurs, pale Withern beer, and something the Riddle Fisher describes blandly as snake cake. They offer you fuel and supplies before you leave. We keep enough to spare, the Riddle Fisher grins. From time to time, a captain gets lost and comes up here, and we always feel bad for them. We lost 10 terror, which was great, and gained supplies and fuel. Awesome. Nothing much else, and, yeah, we're still not quite down to the amount of space that we would need to carry Sphinx Stone, but I think we can get there. I think we can do it by finding Wither, which should be somewhere in this area to the west of Frostfound. And then perhaps we can kind of ping-pong around. But that will be for next time, because it is about time that I conclude this stream. It has been lovely. I thank everyone who has kept me company doing it. We made a lot of progress, and I'm excited to come back and do this some more and keep Captain Toheel here going for as long as he can be kept. You know, whenever he's retired or at the bottom of the Z, we'll move on to the next thing, the next game on stream. And until then, I hope everybody just has a lovely rest of their Friday night. Good weekend. If you're in the VODs, whenever it is, I hope it's a great one of those. For now, though, ciao, everyone. Bye.